different jobs in my life. First half of my career was in the nonprofit world, so I was a bartender and a cashier along with having a full-time job, just like most people in that field. Before that, I had been working since I was pretty young. Started babysitting when I was 11, regularly. And then when I turned 16, I got a job at a yogurt store. And it was the nicest man. He spoiled me from probably all other asshole bosses I had during my life. He was a really, really nice guy, and he ran this yogurt shop. And I started there, and I worked there throughout my high school life. And then when I was in college, I came home from being in Ecuador my junior year, and I'd been gone for about 5 months. And my mom said, hey, you shouldn't go back to the yogurt store, even though he gives me a raise every time I go back, and I'm basically an assistant manager, because I need a different experience. So she had me do a job search. She had already circled a job for me. That was in DC, and I lived in Maryland at the time. That's where I lived for high school. And it was called PIRG, Public Interest Research Group. And, you know, they're interested in the environment and progressive issues. And I'm like, well, okay, that sounds good. What do? You go and you go door to door asking for money. That's all you do. And they take you out in groups so that they have you spam a whole neighborhood. And we were in northern Virginia, in an extremely wealthy suburb. And they just, you know, there's like 4 or 5 of us, all college students, who were dropped off. I had just gotten in from Ecuador, like seriously, like 10 days beforehand, maybe not even that. I went out and I knocked on these doors. I think it was actually 7 days. I'd come in on a Sunday. By that Friday, I had my interview, and that next Monday, I was out. So I guess it was 7 days. And I kept on staring at these lawns, because in Ecuador, there weren't any lawns. That would be a waste of energy and time, and it's on the equator, so maybe not the smartest thing to have. And people lived in, if they did have a house, you're living in a house with probably 2 or 3 generations of your family. And they were little sort of enclaves. Even middle class or lower middle class people had their own little sort of fenced in area that was pretty small. And in big cities, you're right next to other people. In Northern Virginia, in wealthy suburbs, everybody had like half an acre of green crap right in front of their house. That didn't do anything except be green. No dandelions. No, there's maybe a couple flowers, but you know, they probably were only good in May. So now it was just green. And apparently the most exciting thing in Northern Virginia was like how the lawnmowers mowed it. So you'd have like lines going this way, and some guy got crazy and did another diagonal this way. And we were walking and walking, and I'd knock on these doors and talk about all these wonderful progressive things and how they should give me money, and they'd all slam the door, if they opened it at all. They were not friendly, they were not nice, and if they did open their doors, a lot of times it was to insult me, and they close it. I was on the job for a day, and at the end of about a 6-hour workday, I sat down at the curb in a ritzy suburb, and I wasn't arrested because I'm white, and I sat down there and I cried. And I cried about how ridiculous we waste money in the United States, how we waste it on stupid things, how our homes are dumb, how we even build them are a waste, how much water we were using. And I suddenly realized that I was not ready to go to work because I could not handle being in the United States. If I'd had the money and resources, I would have left and gone back to Ecuador. Now, Ecuador was not easy. Speaking Spanish was not easy. I was assaulted there a couple times. It was not an easy process to be there, and a lot of bad things happened there. At the same time, there's a lot of extremely good things that happen there. And one of them was working with small groups in a community to assess what needs they had and how they could pull together as a community to find those needs inside of their community. And it was amazing to document and see and even participate in a little bit. And if we're able to take areas in the United States that are wasteful and poorly organized and poorly designed and find ways to reallocate those resources so that we can better our community as a whole, we'd all be a little bit better.